It's loading slowly. Igor admitting. I will be admitting the people, so you don't have to care. Daniele.
Okay.
I will now. Okay, we are live, and I'm going to start doing the usual .NET user group presentation. Will take about 3 minutes. I'm going to share the screen. And yeah, let's play the video. So welcome once more to .NET User Group Zurich session. Today, we will have the session DevOps Trends. First of all, thanks very much to Offering Solutions, BBBAU, for Texture, our usual locations when we could do in person, Impact Hub and Stanford Group, and our partners, Azure Zurich User Group, Central .NET User Group, .NET Day Switzerland, and Swiss Angular. Who are we? We are Mark Muller, Fabian Gosring, Logan Bunyon, Miguel Finlater, Michael Stape, Pavel Nivolny, me as well, leading these and organizing and pushing this user group forward. What do? We organize events from developers to developers. We share knowledge, passion. We offer networking. Usually we stay, if the speaker wants and can, a bit after the session, once we close the stream in YouTube. And when we could meet in person, we had some beer and pizza. But now, after, you can have some tea or the beverage of your choice. Sorry for my voice. I've been talking all day. Oh, quite a lot, at least. What you can do is you can follow us on .NET Zurich in Twitter or on LinkedIn. Join our meetup group, but I guess you don't get to get in the meeting if you are not on the meetup. So. And you can propose content and speakers. We have a page for call for papers in Sessionize. I should add the link here. That's a good idea. And yeah, or contact any of us, me or any of us. Today we have Daniele Fontani. Daniele is a CTO and architect at Syndra. He likes DevOps and also open source. He's a firm believer of these two topics. Also, he likes a lot Agile. I've been talking a bit with him, and he's quite into Agile principles. And lately, he has been in this what we call modernization or digitalization platform. He's as well. Here is his link in LinkedIn, so you can add him. And also, he is doing as us. He has a meetup group, a .NET user group called Tech Italia Tuscany. With you, Daniele Fontani. Daniele, stage is yours.
Hello, everybody. Guten Abend, Zurich. Ich bin so froh, hier zu stehen. I tried to thank you for being here and tell that I'm very happy. I don't know what happened, and I hope I didn't do too much wrong pronunciation of this phrase. I'm learning Deutsch, and I'm learning Deutsch. Well, I'm here today not for this, but for talking about DevOps. So the first step, of course, is to share my screen. I would pick the right one. Okay, perfect. So can you see me? Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. So just let me know if you hear my voice not so clear, because I have some trouble with bandwidth. In case I will stop my camera. That is not so important in this presentation, of course. Thank you, Jose, for your good presentation. Just a few words about myself. I always joke in the beginning of my presentation, telling that when I'm not tracking, I'm not playing with open source. In the rest of time, in the spare time, I work in Syndra Digital Business and as a CTO. Here you can find many links for getting in touch with me. Probably the best one is adding me on LinkedIn, and I will very happy to discuss with you about the topic of this presentation on the next few days. If you have some question, or if you want to share with me some feedback about my presentation, how I can improve, and the next time will be very, very great. But just jump into the agenda. Of course, I will try to keep the things as simpler as possible. The first part of this presentation is about what is DevOps today. And this is important for understanding how companies are approaching DevOps, how organizations are approaching DevOps, because the topic of this presentation is to discuss about some new trends, some trends that we can introduce and we can follow for being able to support companies and organizations with the new best practice of DevOps. So for starting this journey, we have to know where we are starting from. And the second part of the presentation is just about these five new trends. Of course, as you see, if you read on internet articles or you spoke with someone that is involved in DevOps, you will find every day thousands of buzzwords and new things related with DevOps. Of course, I selected the 2 or 3 that are most important for me in this particular moment. And then the final point is some suggestion for understanding how we can survive to this change on DevOps. So just jump in the first part. Of course, we don't need to talking again about what is DevOps. Everybody knows what is DevOps. DevOps, of course, is the fusion between development and operation. So we create a new philosophy that changed our life since 2009. I think the first time we talked about DevOps was in 2009. I think it was a presentation of Patrick Debois where he had the talk that was something similar to 9 deployment in a day, because he was quite tired about the huge number of deployment he had to organize every day. And he started talking about the good practice of put together dev and operation together for defining some rule and some automation behind this practice. But how DevOps changed our lives? I think all of us has some experience on DevOps, and DevOps helps every day with the process definition, with automation of the process, deployment process. Of course, we also get better quality of our software because we can test before it is released. We can automate things, and we can reduce human action and human errors. And of course, having all inside the platform where everything is defined, reduce the problem with communication between teams, and it reduce also the campanilism and failed between offices. So there is no more me versus you, me that I'm developer versus you that are a sysadmin, but we are all together for deploying things. So it's a very step forward on deployment software and produce good quality software. I will touch 3 points on this part of the presentation. The first one is about DevOps growth, how DevOps is growing, and this will tell us very, very good numbers. And the second part is about how companies organizes the team or the DevOps itself. And the last point is the less happy points, because we will discover how much company are doing DevOps. So DevOps has very, very interesting number. I don't know if you see correctly all the numbers. I will try to describe them. They are very clear. Okay, perfect. So we see that in 2022, we expect that the DevOps market will touch 8 billions of revenue. And in the 2025, we'll touch about 30 billions. So we are talking about a huge number and huge increasing of that number. And then if you see the DevOps usage, we see that in 2019, we had the 3% of organization in the world that are releasing code using DevOps techniques. And in 2023, we expect that this number will increase from 3 to 30%. So a 10 factor in just 4 years. So this is another number that tells us that DevOps is a very huge trend that are spreading in the companies. And the third number is also interesting because tells us that in 2080, we had the 28% of manual releases, and in 2019 this passed to 40. So he could by half in just 1 year. So we see that using DevOps bring results. And the third point is not really related with the DevOps in general, but is the adoption of Kubernetes in production environment. We see that in 2019 we had 68% interviewed by CNCF, so it is a quite polarized survey, but it tells us that a lot of people has almost one Kubernetes installation in their company. So this is another element that we have to take in account when we are talking DevOps, because this is not really with DevOps, but we will see at the end of the presentation that it can be useful for defining some DevOps plan to have the right tool that can be adapted to many scenarios. So coming back to DevOps, we told that DevOps is not a team, is not a person, is not a practice, but is a philosophy, is more a philosophy. And that is true, and I completely agree with this vision. The only question is that one. Imagine when your developer come to you and tell how to deploy something. You cannot simply answer, DevOps is just a philosophy, it will be deployed somehow. Philosophy is DevOps is a philosophy, but there is a point when we need to put people inside this philosophy. We have to put tool, we have to put processes, and how to manage that. Of course, this picture doesn't teach us the solution. The only things that this picture tells us is that I'm not a good drawer, and probably it's better that I continue to make DevOps as my main profession and not design, of course. But going on, how we can organize in DevOps inside our company. The first way I have seen in the most of company that I visit as consultant and that I served is to have some shared resources. So the idea is, okay, I already have some team of operation, I already have some team of development. I just put some people and I ask them to organize DevOps. This is a good solution and has a big advantage, because the resources that are involved in this process most of the time play the main role, so are developer or operation. So always are updated on the hard skill on the development task or on the operational task. So are always trying on the best technology, but there is a problem. The problem is that these people are not full-time staffed for something. So you may have some need of DevOps people, and they are doing something else. So you can have some conflict you can have some confidence inside the organization. So another solution that I see in many companies is to embed a team. Of course, is the linear solution to the previous problem. If you call someone and he is doing something else, you just pull away the people from the team and tell, okay, since tomorrow you will do only DevOps. So this is a solution that make possible that anytime you have a task, somebody is managing the task. And there are the advantage of something, so somebody will be always available and is focused on DevOps. The problem is that developers may lose their skill because they are away of the development team. So after 1 or 2 or 3 years, maybe forgot what is the technology or are just not updated on the technology. And keeping everybody updated on last technology and so on, maybe not so easy. You maybe have to give some time to these people for make some trainings, for reading books, for following tutorial, and for keeping updated. So this is something that we have to do, because otherwise you will have a DevOps team that is not updated on technology and have no confidence about what they are deploying. Another solution that I have seen only in bigger company is when you have a very, very huge company. Think about corporation or some companies that are more than one product. So company based that are company product based that are more than one product. And in that case, we may need to give a DevOps team inside each branch or inside each product team, because in that way, they will have a DevOps team that is near to the product team or inside the product team that is always available to the product. You do not have any conflict between products or division. Of course, the big problem with this setup is that each team is a different realm. So you can have one team that is working with some tool and with some methodologies and other not. So I think these 3 ways are the most common way of implementing the DevOps philosophy. And now it is I promise the final part about this this part of the presentation, and this is the more sad slide in this presentation, and it is made by number about companies and DevOps. This number are taken from statista.com and are related to 2019. So I hope that most of the people and the companies that answered this survey in these 2 years made a lot of step forward on the digitalization and embraced DevOps and so on. And of course, I hope also that most of that company was already starting a DevOps process at that time, but I'm not really sure that is the true. Probably most of the company that are responding that never heard DevOps before still never heard about DevOps. But we have some very, very bad number here, because we see in the last point that the 6% of the companies never heard about DevOps before. Okay, they completely don't know. They completely don't know what we are talking about. This is it's something that I didn't expect. I expected that a lot of the company knows what is DevOps, and everybody was trying to do that. No, 6% of the companies don't know about DevOps. And the first number is another interesting number, because the 17% of companies has fully embraced DevOps. Only the 17%. And it is another very important number, no? Because we are here today talking about the future of DevOps, which can be the next trend, how we can improve all releases, but the reality outside there, there are a lot of companies that don't know about the DevOps. So we'll have also to find a way for take our experience and be able to change the culture in companies, and especially this is especially for who is working in the consultancy world and who is giving IT services. So we have to change the culture, try to change the culture of our customers, and tell that there are a lot of benefits implementing DevOps. So after that sad number, what next? Just try to discuss about what can be the future of DevOps, and just also for having some idea about what we have to expect. Of course, in 2021, nothing is new, everything has been invented, but just talking about things that probably we already heard before. I would like to discuss at the end about also how if you already are implementing some of that solution, and how. I'm very curious about that. The first buzzword, maybe not a buzzword, maybe just a reality, is DevSecOps. Okay, why I'm talking about DevSecOps? I don't want to tell you that before now security was not important and now is important. No, security has always been important. But if I think to what is the exposure or the usage that we have, every company nowadays has a website, and more, maybe we have some portal, some customer portal. We communicate through the web. So lot of company store sensitive data like biometrical data or photography or health data. So nowadays I think that security is crucial. We cannot just take data without having care about how they are taken, where they are stored. And also the user is starting asking where their data are and how their data are managed. So basically, we cannot fail with that. We cannot have a project, a software that go live without a security check before. And how we can do that? We can do that the old way. We can do the old way using a waterfall process where we design the software, we implement the software, we test the software, of course, then we finally make some security check. Then if everything goes fine, we go live. Otherwise, we redo, we change what we have done. Excuse me if I tell that this is not more possible. This flow is not more acceptable. It's not more acceptable because yes, you can do and then reject the project at the end. But what is the cost of this workflow? We cannot allow the situation where we finish a project or a big feature. Maybe think about 1, 2, or 3 months of work, and then at the end, the security team tell you that this is wrong. At the end, after three months of working, and this is a wasting of time, wasting of money, and this may mean that your product will be out of time because you are not alone. There are many competitors. Maybe some competitor will manage this process better than you and will be online with the same feature before you, and you lose market. So this is not possible. We cannot admit this process. How we can resolve this? In my opinion, and in the opinion of the most DevOps practitioner, the solution is to do the same that we have done between dev and operation. So we have to bring inside the team the security team. If they are involved in the project since the beginning, maybe we don't know finish the project and then we discover that there is a security issue. We discover it at the beginning, or maybe at the first test release. And maybe we will be able to make some automation on that process. So this means that we can maybe have some automated tests that are created and are added into the pipeline and can be reused in all following releases. So this will help us to prevent the bad situation, and moreover, we will help us to automate some security tests. So we'll improve also quality. And this may seem hard to implement, and probably it is. But I think that if we could do that, it will solve a lot of issues and will help us to sleep safe every night without thinking about what is happening on your online website. So first point gone. The second point is my favorite. Okay, I confess it. Is about NoOps. What is NoOps? Of course, is one of the 1,000 buzzwords we have in the DevOps ecosystem. Reading it, NoOps means no operation. Of course, it's a little bit provocative. Because of course we cannot just simply eliminate operation in our life. Okay, probably someone will be happy about that, but we cannot do that. We cannot do that. The purpose of NoOps basically is to define a process where there is no need to combine development and operation for making this work. We just want to reduce the friction between developers and infrastructure by using some automation as much as possible, using cloud tool that doesn't need a lot of effort to being keep alive. The basic idea behind no operation is to have a platform that doesn't need human action. Okay, imagine just a situation like that where you have your code repository that is directly linked to the production. Okay, when all the DevOps process is automated and is simplified, by just automating things or tool that allow developers to define how the application is implemented, and then everything goes in automatic. We have many tools that do that. I just want to mention Heroku or other cloud tool. We have also I think each cloud services gives some tool like that to you. Is NoOps possible? Is really NoOps what we are going to do? Probably not. Probably not, because we cannot forget about monitoring, we cannot forget about security, and we cannot about financial operation. Of course, because we have to understand if the service is live. I don't know. I'm not referring about the fact that our Kubernetes instance of our cloud service is on. I mean to monitor that the application is working, that is different. And more still implement security policy that is not free and is not automatic. And then we have to understand what is the cost of this game, because we can also have some NoOps solution, that everything scale and so on, but we have to know what is the cost. We have to monitor the cost on the cloud, and we have to, if you are in a company, you have to know which part of the organization have to be invoiced for that cost. So we cannot forget about this 3 point, but the principle of reducing the effort on infrastructure, of course, is driver that we cannot ignore. And another thing that we cannot ignore is the infrastructure as a code. Okay, the question is I'm quite sure that we can do that. Why I'm focusing on this point. I'm focusing on the point because I think that nothing is better than source code. I very like source code. No? I love source code. I love source code because it is versionable, can be copied and pasted, can be sent via mail. And if you think to a script, if you execute 2 times, every time give you, hopefully, the same result. So it's very good. If you think to your infrastructure, it's not quite the same. So you cannot just copy your data center and send to email to your colleague. But the good news is that also the infrastructure can be like source code. And if you are able to implement an infrastructure that is described by the code, you will get a lot of benefits, because also your infrastructure will be versioned. So if you make some error, you can roll back it and you can share it. So you can replicate it. Okay, if you are on a PaaS environment and you have to create the same another times, you do not have to start from the beginning and replicate a lot of steps and hope to get the same result. And it is easy to restore, because if you have an infrastructure that is described by code, it's easy when your server will burn, and it's not a question of if the server will burn, but everybody will have a server that will burn in our lives. It's just a matter of time, not a having something that is replicable, is described by the code, is an assurance, is something very interesting. How to do that? There are thousands of tools. I just mentioned 2 tools. I mentioned Ansible and Terraform because they cover probably the 90% of the situation, because Ansible, I see Ansible that is very good solution for who is working on virtual machines, because just hello to script, to define script with YAML file and replicate steps. So it's good for virtual machine. I mentioned Terraform, that is probably a little bit more complicated than Ansible, but allow you to dominate complex scenario like Kubernetes. And then finally, I mentioned Kubernetes itself, because if you think, I don't know if you have some experience on Kubernetes, I think yes. If you think about how you create things on Kubernetes by YAML file. YAML file is just source code, so you can store it to Git and you already have something that is like an infrastructure as a code. So probably is not the best solution for doing that, but it's just a starting point. Then another concept is about pipeline and assembly lines. Pipeline, of course, covers the 90% of the deployment. Everybody has in mind this pipeline where developers write the code, commit the code, pipeline build it, we test it with automated test, then we package, then we deploy to the server. Okay, this is very very common. And probably when Patrick Debois coined the term DevOps in 2009, we probably didn't have any issues with that, because at that time we was working with monolithic application. probably the best solution we could find was MVC application, okay? But today the situation is very different. I don't want to talk about microservices because, of course, with microservices, the problem is huge, but just talking about a simple single-page application with a backend API. Okay, talking about that, this workflow is not more valid because we are in this situation when we have the UI, so Angular application, React application, everything you want. So one repository or one part of the repository that is implementing the UI, another part of the repository or another repository that is implementing the API, and then maybe some dependency to some external system like Google API or Azure API, everything you need for implementing things in your application. So just to tell that nowadays, even the most easier scenarios, a simple single page application has more than one component, and each component can have different timing, different dependencies. And it's not always easy to coordinate all that components because maybe the UI change 2 times a day or the API change 1 times a year, but that time you will need to change all the UI. So there are dependency. There are a lot of dependency between that component, even if you don't see it because are decoupled. And moreover, often that application are managed by different team, the front-end team versus the back-end teams. Another time we have some conflict between realm that you have in your software, how to solve them. There is some idea of, and there is an analogy between the actual way of making software and the assembly line. In this picture is from the Ford Motor Company, I think about 1912 or something like that. One of the first building of Ford Motor Company. And as we see, we have all of the employers that had things to the car. So if you think to our software, it's something similar to that, because we have all the teams that are adding some pieces in this software, and the solution is to take all the components, take all the teams that are needed to implement the software, and put all together into one single platform. In this example from Xenos, we can see that we have the SecOps team that define the building image machine. So define which container, which machine you have to use, you can deploy. Then you have the operation teams that is inside and just deploy the machine or coordinate the pipeline definition. Then you have the tester inside, and you have also the developer that is inside the platform. Everybody are inside this process and have to see what is happening on the board, what are the pending tasks, in the way that is clear what are dependency, and with this the real status of the project, the whole project, not just API or backend, because you don't mind that the API is updated if the backend is not, because we have dependency. So we have to see the whole software definition, not just some component. And all that is possible if you have a DevOps island of automation. Even this seems very complicated. Is not complicated, because everybody has already an island of automation. So a super tool that let you all people communicate together. Because what you need for creating an island of automation, you need source control, you need a CI platform, you need artifact repository, of course, and you need some testing tool. the infrastructure provisioning, some notification system, some project management tool, and finally the target can be the cloud or the on-premise solution. So basically, if you look to these icons, you probably will have all of them in your company. I just want to mention Azure DevOps that probably cover 90% of this, but GitLab or Gira, most of that tool cover all that part, or you can just combine more tool for getting things done. Everybody has. We just have to define some process, define some procedure to force everybody to go inside that tools. Project manager, product owner, also CEO, because everybody need to have a source of truth about what is the software health, the software progress, because we need to introduce transparency inside companies, because transparency can help us to avoid wasting of time and to be efficient and to be ready for to be really agile in our software development. The last point, cloud. Of course, talking about cloud in 2021 for me is very strange because everybody knows what it is. Everybody knows how it helped us. I just want to mention it because, of course, most of the things we have told so far probably need cloud to be done, or cloud can help a lot for do them smoothly. So never just to tell you, never forget about cloud solution if you can. Of course, not always is possible. And just to wrap up all these trends that I selected, of course, I'm also curious about your experience to understand if you have something more to add, or you already implement some of them. But it is important to bring security inside the development process since the beginning. This is very important for avoiding that you discover at the end of the project that something is wrong. We have to reduce the effort on infrastructure. This can be done using the cloud or using some tools that automate deployment and simplify the platform management. If we can, we have to describe everything as a code, especially the infrastructure, for having something that is replicable and safe. And we probably will have to structure our pipeline, our board for bringing all the team inside it and make everybody aware of what's happening behind the hood. Then we are happy because we discovered finally what are the trend of DevOps and what will be our future. But why this future is not so near? Just remember this slide, of course. We told about things that are very cool, but these numbers are not so cool, because we remember that 6% of companies never heard about DevOps before. So probably what is new for us is not new for the customer, probably. Or maybe if we are talking with someone that is in some tech company or in some startup is logging about, we are talking about that because they already implement since year. Of course, tech companies go faster than other. There are many industries that are historically reluctant to the changes. I think finance, an example. And some companies are too small for find budget for having some transformations from some DevOps transformation. So what is one of my suggestions for that? That sometimes we have to find some practical solution. So some solution that are not the best one, but can help. And I'm mentioning Kubernetes, and that's why I added it to the previous slide with the statistics. because if you think about Kubernetes, it can be run on cloud or on premise. So if your customer is not ready for the cloud or he cannot go on cloud, he can still have Kubernetes. The definition of Kubernetes is described by source code. So it's real that is not the better way for implementing infrastructure as a code, but it is still code. And you may take advantage of it. And if you think about how you can manage, you can manage Kubernetes on cloud, where everything is managed by the host provider. You just have only to put your credit card and pay for more nodes. It's very near to a NoOps situation, near to a serverless situation, because you don't have to care about the operation system version or about the update of the. So it's a good solution also for this, and it is something that is quite multi-cloud, because each cloud provider has some differences on the definition of the cluster, but typically there are the same concepts. So you can quickly adapt the YAML file from one vendor to another, and you can quickly move if you want. We hope not, but it's so basically Kubernetes is a good ally on the journey. So that was the last slide. So thank you for listening, and I will be happy of hearing your question about my presentation. And also to if you want to share what your experience about that, I will be very, very, very happy to hear it.
Thank you, Daniele. That was really well presented. Thank you very much for being here with us. I have put again the link to Slido. So far, we have only at the moment 3 questions, which are mine. So meanwhile, I ask them, I motivate you to, all right, Daniel is here. You can ask him whatever you want on the topic, of course. So then go ahead. I will start with the first one, which is, what is this companies and DevOps survey that you show 2 times from? When was this?
Sure. I take this data from statista.com. I will share the link with all the survey details. The problem that I find here, I'm also a member of in Italy we have one of the university that has some I don't know how to say, they bring in connection business and research, and they made the research on DevOps, and we find that there are two different numbers. The small medium enterprise that are that are very behind, that they don't know what is DevOps and I have to be helped, and the enterprise. If you trim this, if you focus only on the enterprise, most of them are embracing DevOps, and everybody know what is, or every enterprise already has a DevOps transitional programming inside. So for enterprise is a good situation, but for small medium is quite the far west. So it's very hard to find good practice.
I think so. It's not really a comment, but a question. But I think it's, you mentioned that not really everything mattered. I would say that apart from DevOps, we have MLOps now for AI, data science, also data ops for putting data and machine learning workflows as code, right? So it's pretty like you feel like everything is going into everything as code and everything that can be automated.
Yes. And I just want to tell you something that happened to me. Some times ago, I wrote an article about AppOps, that is another buzzword on the DevOps world. And one of the people that read the article commented me to what would be the next on DevOps, maybe it will be Triceratops, and and they tell yes, probably it will be, because everything that finish with ops is okay for starting a new buzzword. I think that probably we have to understand what are the what is the philosophy. Okay, probably 90% of the ops is trying to automate things, trying to put people together and make them communicate and avoid conflict between teams and reduce friction. So probably yes. I think that this is only one DevOps with that principle. All of them are just specialization of this.
Yeah, more or less. I believe the same, right? So there's DevOps, and then a lot of things are starting to breathe DevOps. We have one question from Corentin. So Daniele, the question is, yes, what are the differences between the light blue and the dark blue in the bar diagram?
It was a comparison. Yes, you are right. Because probably when I put the diagram inside the slide, I probably trimmed the legend. The better number was the 2019, and probably the.
Can you show the slide so we are a bit more in context?
Sure. I'll try to. No, sorry, the wrong one. That one. Okay, perfect. I'll try to present for better look. The blue one should be of the 2019. This one 2080. So it was a comparison between two years. If I correctly remember.
It's not that far away in time. It's pretty recent.
Yes, exactly. I think it's 2009, the better one, 2019, and this clearer one, 2018. Okay. So 1 year of difference. Yes, probably, but they are still not good. The trend is good, okay, because we see that most of the time the DevOps process is improving the data, but the number are not good at all.
Yes, I agree. Taking these numbers in head, I have another question. Again, this one from me. It's how to convince non-DevOps. So these teams or managers that do not know what is DevOps and they have to say about the budget, right? On investing in, how do you get them to invest in DevOps? For example, improving your DevOps in DevSecOps or MLOps, or improving your data workflows. They always see IT as a cost, and they do not understand the benefits, so they cannot really value them.
Yes. Also, this point is quite strange, because it's real. It's real that most of IT manager or a lot of businessmen just see the cost and not the benefit. But I think it's mostly a cultural problem, because each people who pay, because you cannot escape from this. If you want the software is released, you have to pay, and you can choose. You can pay once and implement DevOps, and then do not pay anymore because you have some automated procedure. Or you can pay every time someone that manually deploy it. And if you tell this to the people who is paying for this, okay, of course, I think he will understand, because otherwise, if the businessman doesn't understand this, probably he wasn't able to run the company. Okay. So the problem is often that you are not able to tell this to the people who is really paying for that. you may talk about this to the IT manager, and the IT manager has a budget, and the budget is already filled by all the things they are doing. What they are doing with the budget? They are manually deploying things. So they cannot invest on resolving the problem of deploying things because they are too busy for deploying things. So it's a very bad situation. So a solution could be to bypass the IT manager and just simply go to who is paying for that. But it is often you cannot do that. It's very strange, and I think it is most of the entrepreneur or the people who is paying for that. I think about stock, who has the stock of the company, who own the company. If know that there are a lot of wasting of money, of course, maybe some team manager will be fired because every owner want to keep low cost and have efficiency. So there is no if you know that, there is no reason for not doing DevOps, not reducing cost. Why you should not reduce cost? It's make me laugh. But
sounds like a talk. All right, thank you very much. I think we do not have any more questions, so I would tell again in name of everybody here and the Zurich Developers User Group in .NET. Thank you very much, Daniele. It was great having you here today. I will now stop these